I probably should have shown you guys this ahead of time to demonstrate how I got to this point, but I used my 8-gauge solid bare copper wire. I had to heat it because this wire is very hard to bend, but even after heating it, it was still very hard, and I was heating it for a while. But someone requested this size ankh, and I usually make it in this size, but they requested it to be twice as large, so I figured that this would be a nice substitute. They wanted it to be about 4 or 5 inches tall, and yeah, this is 5, so I think this is what they had in mind. I am gonna cut it down a little bit because the arms are too long, but I knew I would cut it down. So, and I'll probably cut it even more than this. I'm basically just gonna eyeball it. But yeah, this is gonna be going on this copper coil link chain that I have. And the chain is gonna be 30 inches long. So this one is like 20 inches. It'll be 10 more. It's for her husband, I believe. And she just wants it to be like a bigger chain for him to be more masculine. Yeah, just bigger for his frame of how like his size is. So yeah, I would add this as a permanent item to my website, but I'm kind of reluctant to because I don't like making things that require too much muscle power with the 8-gauge copper wire beyond like my bangles that I make with it, because this is like a simple motion. These are going to be polished on the ends. They're still rough, but I prefer to make stuff like this with them, and occasionally I will wrap a big crystal with the wire. I was actually practicing something with this. I was trying to practice this, making this with some wire I had already cut that was like kind of scrap in the 8-gauge. And so like, yeah, sometimes I wrap the big stones though, like with this kind of wire. As you can see, I might put a crystal in there and then wrap into it. And that's still something that's pretty easy on the hands, but this is a little bit harder on the hands, even with heating it. So I don't know if I would add this to my online catalog, but I would definitely like to. I wanted to show you guys like what it looks like behind the scenes, and it is a beauty. Like, I like wrapping with the 8-gauge when I can because it's so thick and bold and pronounced. So in the end, it'll look like this one, but a much bigger version. So yeah, and then I'll be putting it on this chain. So yeah, I'll come back and show you guys what that looks like after I wrap it and kind of eyeball how much I want to cut it down to. Here's the view on how I'm just wrapping it like as tight as I can around the arms, and you make sure you want to hold it in a way that's very firm and doesn't allow for it to like slip out of your hands, because you want everything to be as tight as possible since we're not soldering in the end. And just for the sake of the neat design, period. Okay, at the end, I want to show you guys what it looks like after we finish wrapping the base. Remember to hold your piece tight if you're making something like this. You always want to have a good grip. That way things are always tight and aligned. And honestly, that's subjective. That depends on your style. I like to make things very tight and neat looking, so. Okay, this is what the final ankh looks like. And again, it'll be going on one of my coil link chains. I think I pretty much have this tutorial in another video, but if you guys want another tutorial on how to make this chain, let me know. But it'll be going on this chain. I think that looks really nice, really sleek. And after looking at the finished product, it almost makes me want to put this on my website just because of how like nice it looks. But I wanted to give you guys a quick tip about proportion sizes. I just do it so repetitively that I just kind of know how to eyeball it. Like I just eyeballed this and figured this looked good and proportional, and if it didn't, I would just keep pruning it down till it did. But I did measure the arm to be about 1.75 inches on each side. And I didn't measure the base, but I just see from the proportion that I like it. So from the base, it's like almost 3 inches. So with this ankh that I make, we have like 0.75 on the side, and then we have the double that for the stem. So this isn't exactly double that, but because like we're dealing with a bigger loop up here, if I made this ankh with the 12 gauge, it might look a little too thin and flimsy, but the thickness of this wire compensates for the base not being as long as the arms. I could probably even cut it down even more if I wanted, but I think that this is a nice, firm, standalone kind of design. So even though the base is not double, it's 3 inches. And, you know, the exact proportion would have been to make the arms 1.5 and 1.5 to double it up in the base being 3. So if you want like a ideal dimensions for your ankh, make the arms half the size of the stem. So like ideally this would be 1.5, 1.5, and this would be 3 inches down here. That's just a little tip. And just for the heck of it, I actually am gonna cut it down to be about 1.5, because that just takes off a little, not a lot, because, you know, I got a little perfectionist in me. So yeah, I will cut it down to be about 1.5 on each side. And then I'll come back and show you guys that little difference. So remember what this looks like, and then you'll see the difference. But either way, this still looks pretty perfect too. It still looks nice. I'm almost, I'm going back and forth because it's technically 3.25. But yeah, I'll snip off perhaps just a little bit. Or I won't, I don't know. We'll find out in a few seconds. Okay, so I decided not to snip it because after I sand it down with my Dremel, this is the Dremel 200. Once I sand it down, it's gonna take off some edge on each side. So this is how it'll look with the chain. Keep in mind the chain will be longer than this one, but just to give you guys an idea, it'll look like this. Okay, but looking at it from this dimension, I'm like, maybe I will shave it down just a little. I know I keep going back and forth. Okay, so final call. I did decide to cut off a little bit more, making the edge, the arms of the ankh about 1.5 inches. Yeah. Yep. So I'll show you guys what that looks like. I'll flip the screen. So I'm unraveling just a little. Okay, so this is what it looks like. We're gonna just make the cut closer on the arms to shave it down, so to speak, just a little bit. Okay, now that actually looks better in my opinion. It's a little bit more proportional. And put my goggles back on so that we can start the sanding process, which will make it not sharp. We don't want to cut anybody or their clothes. When I first started making jewelry and making these ankhs, I didn't used to shave it at first. So it's the people who got some of the first ones, you know, probably had it a little rougher than you guys get now. Because I learned these things as I went. I learned to like, oh, you know, someone might complain about a rough edge. Okay, let me listen to that and learn how to polish things and make them not just prettier, but more wearable for the customer. I'll put this on the high setting too. You're gonna need it. And I'll put a fresh sanding tip on. Now, to prolong the life of my sanding tips, it did hit one side pretty hard, so this might run out soon. But I try to make sure I sand down here, 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 and not just in one space. I try to equally get it so that I can get more use out of this sanding tip. But now their arm sides are a lot smoother. It's not gonna cut anybody at all. It hardly even leaves. Okay, it left a little mark, but it's really nothing too much at all. It's not hard or rough. It's very soft. And, you know, just to be sure, you can always touch it once more with the sandpaper or the sanding block. Just to make sure it's super smooth. So yeah, that's what it looks like now. It's nice and smooth. I'm very pleased. The last step will be completing the chain, putting it on the chain. I'm gonna show you guys one more time what it will look like on my chest. All right, let's take these goggles off. This scarf so I can breathe. This is what it would look like on my chest. And keep in mind, we're gonna make this chain 30 inches and it'll be a big man frame wearing it. So that's what it'll look like. Yeah. Let me know what you guys thought about this. There's a little discrepancies, you know, like here versus here, but all in all, it looks good. And that's just like part of the artistic touch, you know. But yeah, the last other step I would do is just to polish it a little bit, shine it up, make it nice and shiny, because that 8-gauge wire, it shines differently. It gets so nice and lustrous. Like, you get a really nice polished look off of it that I really enjoy. You can already see it. You can like almost see your reflection in it. But that's the ankh. So I try to take a little screenshot thumbnail for you guys. But yeah, let me know what you thought about this. I didn't plan on recording it, but I've been getting in the groove of just recording more of the process, slowed down. Because when I first started off, I was going really hard with reels. I was like reel after reel after reel after reel on Instagram. And then I did for a long time have people on YouTube asking, hey, can you make videos of the process slowed down? It's too fast. So now I'm like, when I can record, I'll record a little bit of the process slowed down as much as possible. So peace, everybody. Hope you enjoyed that video on the behind the scenes of me making this oversized ankh. It's like still a great size, but it's a lot bigger. It's like the daddy ankh to the little ankh that I usually make. This is usually the design that we wear. Nice for everyday wear. And this one is too, but definitely a nice piece for special occasions.